Welcome. This is Barry Jones from Angelic Wisdom, and we're here for our weekly angel reading for April 1st through the 7th, 2024. So, as we begin, I'd just like to welcome everyone back to this weekly series and to also wish you a happy April as we start out the first full week of the month. And so, if there's anyone who is new to our Angelic Wisdom community, then we welcome you and, give us a little bit of a shout out and let us know where you're from, just so that we know that you're there. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you subscribe, select the all notification bell, like, dislike, and of course, leave comments. If you are looking for an angel reading with me, you can go to my current website, theangelschool.com/services. Also, if you'd like to support my channel with a donation, you may use my PayPal me link for Angelic Wisdom LLC. So you can find that information in the description area below the links for those things I just mentioned. Also, I will be doing a general monthly angel reading for April, as usual. However, I'm not quite sure if I'll be able to do the monthly ones because I'll have to be doing sort of a roommate search, and it may take quite a bit of my time. I never know how much, but if I have the time, I will work on it and get around to it. So, I can't think of anything else. So, all right, let's go ahead and take a deep breath and connect in. And just release and relax. And so the angels are giving me a sense of, as they write the words manifest and music. And when this just came up in my meditation this morning, it also just sort of transformed as a symbol for me for self expression or creative expression. And so it gives me a sense as I was seeing them that you are really focused right now on trying to, um, bring into fruition some type of creative or artistic expression. It's something that you're trying to, maybe you're trying to move in a new direction. It could be as simple as that this is something that you've always wanted to do, but there was never any room or time for it. And you might be really feeling the call to make room for this. It may be out of necessity. Like, these are just thoughts that come into my mind very clearly. Um, for just relaxation, might be for health reasons, to relieve stress, or to help you to manage your stress better, that you've had this thought. And so if you've been getting messages like this is an encouragement from your angels to embrace the changes that have come to you. I also saw the angel number 48. And as I was seeing those two words, it says, your prayers about money have been heard and answered by the angels. And I get this feeling when I pause like that is because an interruption of thought download is coming through. And it may be around this creative activity also might be the answer to your financial prayers. it just may be something that helps you to relax your vibration and be more receptive so that you sort of cultivate into like the garden of your energy this time where you're not worrying all the time or always in some kind of mode, action mode, but that you step back and you receive, you channel, and it allows you to open yourself up to the abundance that you need. They're writing the word intensity. The angel number 48 always sign for me that the angels of abundance are with you. So, really talking to the angels of abundance and really helping them to help you to encourage your passions. They say to fan the flames of your passions. They can help you to do that. Fan the flames of your passions because it's out of your passions that you attract um, abundance to you and support that you need to manifest something. So, really pray for the angels of abundance to sort of fan the flames of your passions. They write the word uncertainty, and you're fixated on the uncertainty of the times right now. And that's what's intensifying for you and is acting as a major distraction and is kind of diffusing your own inner flame. So your for your passions. So it's very important to really be grounded in creative expression because it reminds you of the enormous activity of the universe, who is always, you know, sort of sending out creative solutions throughout the consciousness, the collective consciousness of the world. So it's like they're spreading these seeds of solutions. A lot of times, what we pray for, when we pray for our needs to be met or solutions to the world, we're looking for them to sort of like interrupt and appear with something in hand when oftentimes that's the reason for one of the major reasons for your incarnation is that you become a vessel, a vehicle in the physical world. And the universe, the angels, God drops those seeds that are the seeds that are actually the prayers, okay, of humanity. And then the angels return it as a seed of ideas into the collective consciousness for those of us to pick up and to process or channel that through our own being and bodies, right? So be very aware that right now, some of the ideas that are dropping into your mind may not be the answer to your prayer, but is the answer to someone else's prayer. And therefore, if you act upon it, you receive it and you act upon it, it will become the answer to your prayer. Or somebody else, if they are acting upon it, it will become the answer to your prayer. And so we share in the responsibility of supporting and helping one another when we don't even realize it. And that is why the idea of service, not just to be served, but to serve is so important for us to acknowledge and realize. Because so that goes back to this sort of we versus me consciousness. If we only think about the self and your prayers being answered, or looking for your prayers to be answered through your own perspective, then you really isolate yourself and create a world of where you don't see the abundance. But if you're thinking in terms of if all your actions are about the greater good and serving the world, then you'll more readily see the abundance around you and the solutions and answers to your prayers and the ideas that you're receiving. You'll understand how this is all this network where all are fed, and all we have to all do is participate in this network where the seeds that are being dropped into the collective consciousness is giving us all what we need to help each other. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the archangel that we're working with in this week. Okay, and I think we had this archangel come up recently, Archangel Joules. And, the shell there, the seashell, and the waves, right? And we just see this sense of how our actions shining our light in such a way can make a huge impact. All right, it's like a wave of influence. And so they're writing the word responsibility. We have this is an analogy that's just universal truth, and we don't realize just how powerful the tools we're playing with, and or that we're utilizing, or that is activated just by our focus, our attention, and intention. So there, you sell yourself short if you ever think that you don't ever make an impact. Even praying for the world is making an impact. That wave of light is huge and can sweep across the globe at light speed. We have to stop focusing on our insignificance just because of what you stare at in the mirror. And you look at your hands and your feet and your body and your placement within a vast universe, and you just discount everything that you are able to do. And so instead of doing it because you don't want to be disappointed by the illusion of your physical capacity, which you see as a limitation, you back away from something as simple as praying for the world, which is extraordinarily powerful in its influence to wave around the world at light speed. And then you underestimate any other actions that you might take in the physical world as being a drop in the bucket. But have you recently dropped anything in a bucket to see, the impact that that drop has on that entire bucket? Whatever the container, you might be focused on the bucket's too small. But the thing about a drop, no matter what the size of the container, that drop will affect the entire container. And so our planet, as being a container of one energy, Gaia, when you drop in that bucket, you influence that entire container called Earth. So instead of focusing on how big of an impact or how little of an impact you could make by doing something, and then allowing that action to determine whether or not you perform that action or not based on how big or how small the container is, to stop doing that. if I've gotten that across accurately in words. I know what I'm thinking. My point is that most of us withdraw from these ideas, these seed thoughts, these missions that are given to us. So many people are looking for purpose. They often come to people, especially to me, wanting to know their life purpose. I mean, everybody's asking that question, whether they go to a reader, they are constantly wanting to know. And the reason they don't know that they have one, or feel that they don't have it, or feel that they can't have it, is because, one, they're not answering those seeds that because you know how many, probably trillions of seeds of ideas that are dropped into our collective consciousness, but not all of them do you pick up. You pick up specific ones. And then for some reason, because of the illusion of your own reality and what its conditions are, you say, I can't do that. I have no power to do that, based on the illusion of world power you think you are in deficit of. And they say to you, that's the illusion. Because you're not focusing on the intention of your light. It doesn't matter how far you move in the physical world upon these ideas. It's somebody else, as an example they're giving me, might just see you trying to do this. And this is where we have to also not fall into the trap of our ego when we think about somebody taking my idea. All right? Especially when we doubt our ideas so heavily. And somebody else is going to pick it up who has the courage. And that is not to put you down or to chastise you. But why not think that whatever is meant to happen does? And they're writing yes to this, but you wrote it before I said it. That might have been your purpose, to attempt, because the light is shining in you so brightly, this influence of power that you don't recognize. We all don't recognize. And you might be the person who just always tries, and to you that feels like a lot of disappointment, a lot of regrets, a lot of failure, or false attempts. And what you've done is so important, because you trusted enough, or you were open enough to the universe to see it. And so you just might be, for lack of a better term, the seer. The seer who sees this in non-physical idea, the invisible ideas, sees them, wants to attempt them, and in that moment of attempts, you become like a billboard that allows others to see an idea that they've been waiting for and have the energy or feel like they're the runners with it. So instead of seeing somebody else is taking your idea, see them as the runner. You're the seer and they're the runner. And the universe is well pleased with both of you. This is not to say that you should always, as a seer, you just don't ever get to run. You will run with what your heart is passionate about. And so instead of judging yourself, when your flame of passion is fully lit, you will run with the idea. You will run as far as you can, and that you are meant to. Think of it sort of like the Olympics torch. One person wasn't meant to run that torch all the way to its destination. It's a team of individuals who've obligated themselves to pick up the torch at the different points. And the real goal is that however it reaches the eye of the entire world does not matter who gets it there. But what matters is all the all together who do their part to run their leg of that race or that run in order for it to reach everyone. And you may say, well, but then the people who get there, they're the ones who get the pay for the idea. But the thing is that when people see you in your role, whatever it is, you get noticed. And you get noticed when you first notice yourself, when you first acknowledge what you've done and you are satisfied. If you feel regret and disappointment, then they will see you in that way. But if you recognize, I was the seer, and so I'm a person who inspires other people, or I'm a person who, lights the flame or gets things started, and then your energy will sort of emanate in this positivity that other people will see you for what you're capable of, or the role that you best serve in, and they will make use of this, and compensation will happen. We just got to stop thinking that all of us are meant to be the person who who brings the torch to the destination. And that's the only kind of success you can have. Someone who wins the race. We always think of success as the end game, the end point. And really, every role from start to finish, every person who plays a part in the process is a winner. Because without them, and there is no one who runs anything alone in this universe. I was talking to, I had gone away last weekend from the 21st to the 23rd, and upstate New York, and there was a big snowstorm. Went to visit a college classmate. And on my way back, I met a young man from Canada, and all of us always have, every reading I've ever done or every conversation, I think is meant. There's a soul connection, as if this is part of that support thing. It's about, none of us runs the race alone, right? But never think that you're the teacher and the other person's a student. Both are teacher and student, because everyone mirrors and reflects something back to you and you to them. And he was talking about this purpose, and at one point he had this idea, he wanted to do these things, and then when he got involved, reality kind of blows the wind out of you. There's some other layers too, because since he was young, he's been a high achiever, and now he's 22. And so I can identify with that, like, I did a lot growing up, and then it gets to a point, like, especially if you can get burnout, right, early in life. And that's a big issue, I wonder, with a lot of children who are pushed to do so many things. And sometimes they push themselves. I mean, it was a little bit of both for me, but you can get burned out, right? But one of the things I remember in the conversation was talking to him about, it's a we thing, not a me thing. If you can realize that it might look impossible to you as an individual, but with a team of people who you would encounter through networking, places you go, like he was going to a big event where there'd be a lot of people in his field, and you know the possibility of connecting and expanding from me now to we who wants to do something, and when it gets to be more, you find more people, the we gets bigger, the group gets bigger, and then these greater sort of seemingly impossible sort of life world changing services become easier and to do, and your confidence is then reignited, the passion is sort of um, you know enormously um, influential and powerful and confident. So really think about, whenever you get one of these ideas, where you remember it's going to take the village. It's a we. And so don't focus on the ego, like trying to keep this for yourself, trying to keep the recognition and the rewards and the profits. No, think about sharing. Bring in your village, bring in the people, look for people who have the components that you need to help you to get something moving. And just come up with criteria for you to work together to keep getting things done, to spread the the, the work amongst yourselves equally. All right, so this says align with the highest and go with the flow. So go with the flow. First, that's the ideas that are coming to you. Go with the flow and keep expecting the highest. Keep asking for what's in the best and highest good. Keep asking for clarity. Keep asking to show you a oneness or village type of service and support. All right, let's take a look at the first card for the beginning of the week. This is interesting. The some of the things on my table have been moving. They never did before. Okay, so the Hermit card. I feel like we had this card the first time. I haven't had too many readings with this deck yet. And so the Hermit card. Now it's interesting after just talking about all of that. And this card might seem like sort of an isolation, or having to withdraw and really reflect. And then there's another part of this where and looking at this card, and typically you see in this card is this sense of someone who's standing on at a very high place, mountain peaks, considered to be the highest viewpoint of the entire world. And in this card, it looks like stepping through a portal. Like the owl here, this owl of wisdom is, and it feels like, the world is on the other side, and we are looking from spirit world, right? And looking through into, and the owl is able to look into both worlds, the 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 non-physical and the physical world, and he's acting as a guide to the hermit holding the lamp, and that light that's coming from the hermit's lamp is due to the that maintaining that connection between both realms, the balance of perspective, outlook. And so how can you maintain this sort of world view perspective, this balance, as you sort of, I want to say, wrestle with um, how you can change the world, influence the world from your corner of the world. And tapping into your inner soul's light and wisdom, knowing and reminding yourself that within your soul is full of codes of light and wisdom that is activated when you have certain encounters, and it is also activating others who encounter you. And this is the importance of understanding around what was said earlier around the impact of your lights and your inner light's influence over the world. This is just one way they're trying to demonstrate that to us. Do not take, I just saw the angel number 855. Do not take your light for granted. Huge increases in your financial flow are occurring right now. As you really believe in the power of your light, your inner light, it is I want to say, a network of profound technology, potent spiritual technology, codes and keys of light, wisdom, like a light language that is imperceptible to our 3D mind, but nonetheless, is still present and on higher dimensions, is extraordinary, even miraculous. And it does not matter that your 3D blueprint is in such low esteem or is uncooperative, with all of this divinity that you carry within. You are like a vessel or vehicle moving through a world so unaware of such great power and potential. And yet, despite whatever your 3D mind is doing, it has no power to eclipse or to interfere with your soul's core technology. This is why every being that you dislike or cannot love unconditionally, that effect is only impacting you at the three-dimensional reality. So therefore, it makes it seem as though your three-dimensional world is full of poverty or scarcity, depravity. You get what I'm trying to say. And so why not go with the flow, as Archangel Joules is saying, align with the higher frequencies of yourself, your soul. Align with those keys and codes and the wisdom and the abundance, and start living your life that is a reflection of that which you are. But by only putting your attention to the three-dimensional, you hold yourself at that. But the thing about it is, it can easily be eclipsed, that three-dimensional mindset. If you love unconditionally everyone, and that you understand that the most hated people on the planet right now by the collective are still one of you who doesn't even recognize what you are, carrying such keys and power. They are activating. That's why you will have seen in the last 6 years that the most, what we consider the most offensive sort of actions of service politically has still activated the call for justice, the call for for love, for more wisdom, and for faith. Because no matter what you do through your three-dimensional mindset, what you're carrying, you're it's almost like God has usurped your three-dimensional mindset. It's like a done deal. And so you carry the codes and the keys that he wants us to carry out. And we just, at a basic level, for source, for the universe, we are, no matter what we do, we're going to carry that. So therefore, that is why whatever is meant to happen for the greater good will always occur, or somehow eke its way into the eke out into the universe, into our lives, somehow, some kind of way. All right. This is a very powerful thing that's going on with this card and the message and the extraordinary understanding. And we've been here for a while on this, but really, I hope you get it. I mean, when I say soul technology, when I say keys and codes of light and wisdom that is there, present, this is who you really are and everyone else is. And the only way for you to interact with it at that level, through every person, is to love yourself unconditionally, forgiving yourself, seeing the potential within yourself, and then doing this with everyone else. It's not gaslighting, although that word is strange to me. And people, I was seeing the potential in someone, and they were seeing the opposite, and they said I'm gaslighting them. I've heard different things, but about it, I don't really care about this word at all. I don't know why, but the thing is if seeing the potential, if someone reacts that way, that's because they're in resistance to it. But you do it first for yourself, because hello, who's the biggest resistor of all these things? Usually the self. So once you can do that, though, for yourself, and maybe I'll just, expose myself in this way. Maybe the person is just, not receiving it, and to say this in general for all of us, is because deep down, I wasn't receiving it at that time. And I'm just learning this right now with you, because they're telling it to me and I'm telling it to you, and I'm just speaking, and I don't know, I don't know what's going to come out my mouth next. So it's always like, oh, wow, okay. I just learned that. So that is something for us to think about, that if you have this ability without having done it for yourself first, but you have the ability to do it for others, and they don't respond to it, that means that you need to work on doing it for yourself, because you're not at the level of what you're saying in order for everybody's lights to turn on. But sometimes people's lights will turn on just by seeing you, because in that moment you're just being totally authentic. And I think that's at the heart of it is authenticity, not force. Okay, so the Eight of Cups, sort of another card that makes you feel like you are, as this card leads to 9, right? And leads to this sort of wishes fulfilled, this fulfillment, joy. I know people usually call the 9 of Cups the wish card, but it's almost like a fulfillment of joy. Like you've achieved this through really acknowledging the joy that's present, that's already gifted to you. Sort of, and so this card calls you sort of move away from something. And usually the card before this is the Seven of Cups, whereas there's all this confusion, like we've been talking about, like, I don't know what my purpose is. And here it's like something is drawing you to move. You know, one of the keywords for the eight might be movement, mastery, or um, so some kind of modulation. So there's some sort of moving or modulation that needs to happen here. And that's an interesting word, modulation, because usually in a music you modulate to another key, but you have to do it in a way that balances. And modulation can mean that you could just temporarily modulate and then come back with the intention of coming back, or just completely move in another direction. But when you modulate within a piece, um, and if it goes to a new key and ends in that new key, it's still based on the theme. So there's something about your purpose. There's still a connection to the purpose that was previously there. So it's either an expansion of it, or it's well, yeah, it's definitely an expansion of it. Of It's somehow growing in some way or moving in a new direction. It can move in a new direction, but this feeling of modulation and something's calling you, do not be in resistance to it. And it's interesting how that mountain peak is there, and so the rainbow there, and so there's like, maybe you need to modulate to a higher perspective. Maybe you really need to look at this from a world view. Look at this from the view of the village, not just the self. Any situation that you're going through, maybe let's say, you feel like everybody's against you, and you're trying to defend yourself. Even in this, you need to look at this from the view of the village. And I'm not saying through their indignation and judgment, but through compassion, a compassionate understanding. And that might be that you follow their train of thought. You don't ever have to agree with it, but just to follow it might just give you a little sense of peace, because you now understand, not accept or embrace, but you just understand their thought process. And then it might give you some ideas about how to work with that. Not in any way diminishing yourself or who you are, but just to know, to understand is powerful. And it might be more life-changing for everyone else in the village than just for you. Like maybe the change will happen within them when they see that you can go that far to understand them. They can do the same thing. It opens the door for them to do it, even if they don't know that you are doing it. It may take a little bit longer, but they might actually get there. Oh, we really got to go. We're running. All right, so we have the Knight of Pentacles now. And this is a card that just says, I always think of the Knight of Pentacles, someone who's thoughtful and wise, right? Sort of like the Virgo energy of the Hermit. It's thoughtful and wise. So there's this card, these two cards really punctuate one another in my vision or understanding of the tarot. And so here, what you want to do is really think about approach, and also evolving abundance. So, this is the Knight has this, it's all about the mission, but it understands that it's a process to grow something. And the value and the pleasure that we need to have in our evolving passions to be, as they write out again, they write progress and process, and they both feed each other. Progress is achieved through the process, and the process helps us to also achieve the progress, right? And so we have to be open to this, to the process, not a rush to the finish line, and all that can come up on the process that it of the village that you might encounter. All right, let's take a look at the card from the bottom of the deck, and we have the Six of Pentacles. So there's a lot of earth energy here with the Virgo hermit usually being a sign Virgo. So we have here, again, what I said early, really focus on shared responsibility. Whatever dream or goal you have in mind, whatever ideas come into you, think about you don't have to do this alone on your shoulders anymore. This is about achieving goals together. This is going to be the future. There will be no more me. It'll be we. We'll take up projects together from the start with acknowledging that we need a variety of talents. This will give us more energy to really make it to the finish line. And we'll see that we'll have more success in terms of implementation and sustaining and regenerating these good, brilliant, and useful ideas. So I guess the advice here is to jump on the wave of the future influence of the golden era, where oneness is the platform and the village are the groundbreakers, not individuals, but villages, meaning groups of people, teams. And it's interesting because in so many of the workforces, I don't know, maybe the last 20 years or so, it really started like with project managers. I mean, you've been working within these corporations. They've had the groundwork, but the ultimate goal was to serve the few, not the entire village that helps make that corporation successful. And this is just something to think about, not just with corporations, but within any organization, schools, church, religious, political parties, governments, not thinking of themselves as factions, but one government, one village, working together, getting it done, and not working for each other's own agendas. But first, working on the agendas that everybody can really get on the same page about. Instead of worrying or fighting about the differences, just jumping into where do we agree? What is it that we know needs to be done? How can we serve together? And then eventually the factions and the need for them will disappear as the success of achievement as a village takes over. All right, so I send you lots of love and angel blessings. Have a beautiful first week of April in the sign of Aries, right? New beginnings. God bless you.